So my background, I went to college and to get a degree in management, biology, and computer science. And when I got out, I was doing research and development into different types of medical devices. So these would be class 2 medical devices. And I did this for a few years, and it gave me a really good education into what it was like to be in an environment of developing product. I then went on to have several companies of my own. And I was living in New York, New Jersey area where I grew up. And I moved down to the Atlanta, Georgia area when I was in my 30s. When I moved down there, it was to open up a computer business. I wanted to stay in touch with inventing, so I joined a inventors club. Developed a number of pretty interesting things, new types of batteries and fuel cells. And I got approached by a group of guys that wanted to see if we could commercialize some of the technologies that I had developed. So we got together. Because of their contacts, we started to develop new technologies for the United States Navy through government contractors. And I was invited to, after a few years, I was invited into a project where the Navy was creating a mini sub. For the U.S. Navy, a mini submarine is about 60 feet long, and it attaches to a nuclear missile carrying sub. And, the crew of the mini sub were Navy SEALs, and they were going on really long missions. So I had invented something that was considered by General Dynamics to be impossible. It was a new type of oxygen supply. And so they said, hey, the guy that was the head of this project said, hey, I really like that you're an out-of-the-box thinker. This is a mini sub we're doing. Could you see if you can make a contribution to it? So I thought, well, these guys are going on missions that are 30 hours, 60 hours long. They have to stay awake. Maybe there's a better way that we could keep them awake instead of putting them on caffeine or amphetamines. That's when I began to think about, well, what if we tapped into the way that the body naturally makes energy? Is it possible that we could have some type of wireless communication device that would cause the cells of the body to make energy? And this was the very, very beginnings of LifeWave and the energy patches. And of course, the way that this turned out was I found a way to use specific combinations of light to activate the mitochondria in the cell to increase fat burning. And this has been the basis for how all the LifeWave patches work. And over the years, especially recently, the technology has become very sophisticated in how we target different regions of the mitochondria, produce some really incredible effects when it comes to regeneration, longevity, and even age reversal. I was going to graduate school at Pace University. I was working towards a graduate degree at Pace University. I approached the chairman of the biology department because I had an idea about how to selectively destroy cancer cells. And if you were to see a healthy cell, let's say it's got a big electrical charge around it, and a cancer cell is smaller and has a smaller electrical charge around it. And I found a way using basically electricity and magnetism to target cancer cells without harming healthy cells. And I was working with 2 different tumor lines that were neuroblastomas. And I did this in conjunction with the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. But anyway, that had set me on this early course when I was in my 20s of looking at the body much more as a bioelectrical or biomagnetic organism, and we should be looking at health as we need our foundation of water, proper nutrition, and exercise, but we don't have to rely on drugs for healing. We should be looking at the electrical and magnetic properties of the body and working with that to get optimum health. So the body works on the basis of light. What's so interesting about this is that for thousands of years in cultures all over the world, it has been recognized that we are light beings, that we are much, much more than a physical body. And actually our physical bodies are the least important aspect of really who we are as human beings. The spiritual component is by far the most important component. And that's why spiritual healing is so powerful. And people that are legitimate spiritual healers, it's far superior to any type of medicine. But when we recognize, the true identity of what human beings and the world around us really is, we recognize that, and in biological terms, it's light that's governing our very existence. One of the premier researchers in this field was Fritz Popp, and he was the first one to actually document that human beings, animals, even plants are emitting light. So the age that we're living in now is that we finally have the tools and the resources that we need to develop technologies based on light that can heal the body in very, very powerful ways. So that's the path that I see going forward. Light therapy will become a bigger and bigger part of how we heal. So actually, it's really pushing closer to 20 years. You think about it was several years to develop the technology. Then it was another 2 years to try to figure out how to manufacture it and to put together clinical studies to support what it was that it was doing. And then we launched the network in 2004. When we started, it was just simply about, let's give people a way to improve their energy without having to use drugs. Then as the products developed, it was, let's give people some anti-aging products, things that are going to reduce stress, detoxify the body, and protect the body so we can have a healthier future. But over the past 10, 12 years, my focus has really been more on regeneration, longevity, and age reversal. Because the biological mechanisms now for doing all of this is being accepted and well understood. So what this means is that X39, we can talk about this a little bit later, but X39 is the beginning of our entry into stem cells and regeneration, and it's not the end. It's the very beginning of the story, and the future and the path that's taken us here is leading us to a place where lifespan is going to reach levels that used to be considered science fiction, but it's becoming real in the laboratory today. Certainly didn't happen overnight. It was about a 10-year journey. And actually, when I started, I was trying to find a way to activate stem cells with electromagnetism. And I hold about 70 patents in this area today. So there was quite a bit of technology that came out of this research. We spent just over $4 million over that period of time developing this. But essentially what we learned how to do was create these devices that, with a combination of what's called an electromagnetic field and a longitudinal field, influence the activity of the stem cells in the body and get the stem cells to function as if an injection of stem cells had been given. So we had worked with the National University of Ireland on this. Their research center on the west coast of Ireland is in the top 2% of research centers globally when it comes to stem cells. So we got this research collaboration with NUIG. We got a research grant from the government of Ireland called Scientific Foundation Ireland, and we began doing this research. We did our basic cell culture studies, we did animal studies, and then human studies. But we found with this technique, I'll give you one example. We took 30 people, and each one of these people, they had diabetic or idiopathic neuropathy, meaning that the nerves in their feet were destroyed and they were developing neuropathic symptoms, they were in pain, and they were at risk for amputation. We were able to, in a 8-week period of time, regenerate the nerves in their feet and reverse their diabetic neuropathy. And there's no drug or therapy in the world today that will do that, but we figured out how to do it. That really led to the development of this understanding that we can use energy, and bear in mind, light is high frequency electromagnetic energy. We can use electromagnetic energy to influence the stem cells without having to give a stem cell injection. That in of itself is so interesting because our bodies are actually designed to be powered by light. Now, we often think of sunlight as causing our bodies to make vitamin D, and that's absolutely true. But it's only a very, very small part of the picture. About 10 or 15 years ago, it was discovered that when you put specific types of light on the skin, and it could be infrared light, which we can't see, or visible light, that it will cause real chemical changes in the cells. And for those doctors that are out there, or those people that are curious, it causes an increase. Light will cause an increase in an enzyme called cytochrome C oxidase. And what's important about this, and what's so telling that we're beings of light, is that this is a component of what's called the electron transport chain in the cell. And this is how our bodies convert food to energy. So what this literally means is that our bodies can absorb light and respond in such a way to turn that light into additional energy. So with LifeWave technology, what I found that we could do is take a combination of different types of organic materials, process them to form crystals, and have these crystals engineered so they will reflect different wavelengths of light. When you put the patch on, these wavelengths of light stimulate the skin. They'll upregulate the mitochondrial energy production, and they'll also, I'm trying not to get overly complicated with this, basically the patches will stimulate the skin with light and change the metabolism in such a way so that we can cause the synthesis of specific signaling molecules, peptides, that will cause a desired reaction. So in the case of X39, we use the patch to stimulate the skin with light. This causes an increase in the peptide GHK, and then this regulates stem cell activity in the body. It's way more detailed than that. So, the most about what I could say, again, is that X39 is the beginning of the story, not the end. There are more products in our future that will lead to better ways to heal and regenerate. And again, my ultimate goal is I personally don't want to age, and I would like to be younger, and I would like to be able to, share those gifts with our members. All the research that we're doing is indicating not only is this possible, but it's totally achievable. We see these effects in human beings. I turned 57 in April. One of the blessings out of this pandemic is I've been locked in a house where I built a gym, and I've got a lot of protein. So I would say that based on the numbers, I'm in better physical shape today than I was in my 20s, speaking athletically. And I know that the patches have played a huge role in that. Because, we can't make any medical claims. And we're a general wellness product in terms of the FDA. So if we look at what do we claim the X39 patch does, it's going to activate stem cells. That's kind of like the core of what it does. If we dig a little bit deeper with that, X39 is designed to elevate copper peptide, and it does this through increasing the way the mitochondria produces energy. So that then would lead you to say, first thing is a big problem that people have as they age is mitochondrial dysfunction. And that means, so people are slowing down, they feel tired, more fatigued, and that's going to be a big problem that X39 is going to help to alleviate. Now, interestingly, the process of healing is intimately connected with the quality of sleep. We had a clinical study that was done by Dr. Melinda Connor. We've done blood studies and also urine studies. And one of the interesting things that comes up is that X39 also improves the quality of sleep. So people that are having a problem sleeping will benefit. And this is because X39 will elevate production of something in the brain called GABA. Another thing that happens is Copper peptide, when it's elevated with X39, copper peptide, its most powerful attribute is that it's able to modulate gene expression and reset about a third of the genome back to a younger state. And one of the things that occurs is that this helps to manage inflammation. And if we look at, we could do an entire webinar on just why is it that people age, and so how can we reverse aging or prevent it. But inflammation has a lot to do with this problem. As people age, their ability to manage inflammation declines. And so X39 will help that. So obviously, people that are suffering with some type of chronic pain can benefit from X39. Another thing that happens is X39 will increase production of the intracellular antioxidant glutathione, which is the body's master antioxidant. And it increases it by levels of between about 30 and 40%. Again, we've seen this in our urine testing. Advantage to this is that the age of the cell is intimately linked to the body's levels of glutathione. And glutathione normally declines with age. Glutathione is also neuroprotective, meaning when people develop Parkinson's disease, it's actually from a deficiency of glutathione. So one thing that we want to be concerned about is we want to keep our glutathione levels elevated, because this will protect the liver, it protects the nerves, and it protects just about every cell in the body. And then the really big one, of course, is that when we activate the body's stem cells, it's good for just about everything, without getting into some disease claims and others. So X39 by far is our most powerful product, and it's really good for the health of the entire body. So the rate at which we're growing is absolutely phenomenal. And of course, that's all happening because of you guys. We have great leaders, we have great members, and they're really driving the excitement behind this. So that to me is exciting. We're expanding globally. I can tell you that the executive team, we get requests weekly to be opening new countries. So on the business side, the rate of growth is absolutely incredible, and it's exciting. We've been incredibly blessed over the past year with the progress that we've made in the lab, and we're turning out more products faster than we ever have before, all in the field of regeneration. We have one study specifically I am super excited about. I will tell you that, so there's a medical doctor that we work with who does independent studies, and we had this new product in clinical research for about 6 months, and I was sitting in a meeting and the email came through, and I opened it up and I looked at the results from the study, and I had to stop what I was doing because it was like a lifetime of achievement in that one moment. It was like, okay, I've literally accomplished what I set out to do with my life with this one study. And so we, like you would do with any project, you want to duplicate the results. This was a pilot study that involved 15 people. In a 6-month study, you're always going to have dropouts. So one of the people dropped out. So we had 13 out of 14 people get results with this product that would today be considered medically impossible. That's a product that's going to be in our future. We went and started the second clinical study on this, and we're just at the 6-month point now. And so we'll be wrapping up a 1-year study with this by the end of this year. So we're super excited about that. I've also had some really great success at looking at very, very specific ways of targeting stem cells. So X39 is our broad sweeping product for activating stem cells in the body. But you ask yourself the question, is there any way to maybe target stem cells more specifically? Like, could you target, what happens if you target stem cells to the brain, or you target stem cells to the muscle tissue, or something else? And so I've been fairly successful at finding ways to do that. I'm also going back and I'm looking at a product that I first prototyped in 2003, but the results at the time scared me a little bit and I wanted to go back and revisit it. I had had a wisdom tooth pulled, and I created this patch based on a very specific principle. And after about a month, I regrew half of the wisdom tooth that had been pulled. And it wasn't designed to do that specifically. It was designed to regenerate something else. But it was the way that it was doing it that kind of triggered this reaction. So anyway, long story short, we're having a lot of success now in finding very specific ways to use stem cells that are complementary to X39, but yet different than X39. So you could kind of see in the years to come, X39 will continue to be our flagship product, but someone will say, I'd like to regenerate this, or I'd like to have the stem cells kind of go over here. We're going to use this patch. Or I might like to, it's hard for me to say anymore without giving away, the store. But it's all to say there are going to be more patch products. There are going to be other products that come in, and they are going to be focused on newer and better ways to regenerate the body. Healing has never been more valuable than it is today. We are faced with challenges today that as a species we have never had to deal with before. So these are things like genetically modified foods. We have engineered foods, which is a whole other subject. We have all types of pollutants that are around us. We have electrosmog. We have 5G. So all of these things are applying pressure to us biologically, and we have to meet this challenge with new technology that's going to support the integrity of our health. So this is one of the many reasons why LifeWave is a great choice. Now, if we just were to focus on X39, for sure, 20 years from now, stem cells and stem cell therapy is going to be commonplace. But today, stem cell injections are extraordinarily expensive, and they're not at the level of sophistication yet where they can really provide people with the type of healing that they'd be looking for from this approach. But yet we have a way very inexpensively, very safely of activating the body's natural systems by activating the stem cells and helping to support overall healing. So there's not going to be any other place where people can find a better way and a less expensive way of taking advantage of stem cell technology than with our product.